that we'll hear something toward the funding, and I'm hoping that we'll hear something from Kevin relative to the state funding that he's trying to push for Arm Brook, Powder Mill, and Little River Levee. So that's pretty much that on Powder Mill and Arm Brook, unless somebody has something they want to add or any questions.
I just wish we didn't have so many darn cattails.
Yeah, it's pretty bad at Powder Mill how much it's choked up. Literally, it's to the point where there's almost no area of water that you can see anymore. Item 9, Williams Riding Way, flood control pump station, tide flex backflow preventer valve. All right, so this one I was hoping Mark was here for. So as you know, Jeff Gamelli had sent me an email stating that the pump station backflow preventers are not functioning properly. We did talk about this, I think it was 2018 when we had the last flash flood and the pump station was operated for the first time after the rehab. And he had believed that there was an issue with those backflow preventers not opening fully. We did discuss it. Mark said he was going to look into it, and to be honest, I don't think we really thought about it after that point. But it's definitely an issue. Jeff's pretty certain that that's a serious problem that needs to be addressed by a professional engineering outfit. So I did forward that to Mark, and we discussed it briefly at our last meeting. I don't know if Mark has any updates on that, but we'll need to contract for that, or at least put out a contract for that to have an engineering firm look at the backflow prevented valves, see if they need replacement or if there's a way to modify them. They're essentially just giant rubber flanges that with water pressure they open up, and when there's no water pressure pushing outward toward the river, they close up. It's basically two giant diaphragms. And they're located, if you're at the Williams Riding Way pump station, you go over the levee, and just over the other side from the pump station, there's a big concrete thing with a grate on the top, and you can look in and see them. So that's that. But without Mark here, I don't know if we have anything, but if somebody would like to make a motion to send Mark to put out something to have a contractual obligation for an engineering firm to look at those, I'll entertain it.
So moved.
Motion made by Jack, seconded by Mark Goodness. Roll call vote. Mark Goodness.
Yes.
Jack Leary.
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. I will send an email to Mark, a formal email and letter asking Mark to put contract out for an engineering firm to look at that. Hopefully it's not going to cost too much. Okay, next item on the budget. On the agenda is the budget. This is one that's a little messy for us because we need to figure out what we're going to spend and not do. Based on the current budget that we have for fiscal year 2022, let me read it actually. Item 10, WFCC budget fiscal year 2022, to discuss what the commission can afford to do. So let me grab my folder here with our budget. If I can find it underneath the two other stacks of stuff I have. Bear with me 1 second, folks. Okay, so we have, or is that the old budget? Hold on, I think this is the old budget. Bear with me. Why do I have two of the old budget? One of these has to be the correct one. There we go. So, as everyone's aware, there was a $90,000 cut to our request for purchase of services. It's a little painful. We also had a cut to our part-time position, which was another $10,000 that we had requested to hire a part-time employee. So there's no discussion about the part-time employee because that's cut out in a separate item. Bear with me here for a second. Let's see. I'm looking for the correct budget, and I see our proposed budget. I see the budget from the year prior. I hear my children fighting in the background. Apologies. Okay, this is the correct one. Yeah, projected budget 2022. Okay, so we have purchase of services, mowing and grooming, $36,000. General clearing, $50,000. Little River levy, $25,000. Engineering services, $100,000. Animal control, $2,500. Emergency action plan, $15,000. Training, $400. And generator services of $5,000. And the cut was $90,000 to that for us to figure out what we're going to actually pay for and what we're not going to be able to afford to do. All of the items that are in there were designed to address issues we have or get to where we need to be with our local cooperation agreements with the NRCS and the US ACE. So, yes, sir. I'm not. It went to vote for, the mayor was putting 150 back in to our budget. That was what his, he had made an amendment to it, and it was shot down at city council. So there was discussion about that. I'm not 100% sure where that went because I was told something slightly different from a city councilor. So right. Right. We had done that prior to the end of the close of the, well, we had done that back in March, I believe, of last year when there was free cash discussions. I had sent the letter to the mayor asking for additional funding from free cash. Right. Right. Yep. No, I appreciate that. Thank you, Peter. So right after the fiscal year ended, there the mayor. No, it was right before the fiscal year ended. The mayor looked to put 150 back in our budget, and it was part of a group of items, and unfortunately, it was voted down. But yeah, we can approach that for free cash, but based on what we have here with our current budget, there's $90,000 that we've got to kind of figure out, and then we can go from there. But We know we need to pay for the Mowing and Grooming contract, which is probably going to be more. I know it's going to be more. We have general clearing, which covers odds and end clearing issues such as removal of branches, trees, brush, things that we either need to address throughout the year or issues of general maintenance. Then we have the Little River Levy, which is specific to clearing trees and brush and addressing issues there. Some of that could have been used for engineering costs. Then the engineering services, which is $100,000, and that was to address numerous issues at all of our flood control sites and have them looked at professionally to get assessments done. Most of it, the lion's share of it would have been for assessments at Little River Levy as we move forward, because there's a number of things, and engineering costs are quite expensive when you have multiple federal, state, and local permitting that has to be done with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Mass DCR, DEP. We have to deal with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Concom, Westfield Concom, and I believe there's another agency, federal agency as well, that we have to contract or contact for permits. Historic, that's it. Thank you. So, anyway, so it gets quite expensive when you have a engineering firm looking at all of these angles and doing all the paperwork that it takes that has to be submitted to all these agencies, and then they have to go through it all. And if there's something they don't like, then especially if it's, say, Army Corps or even the NRCS, if there's something, we have to go back and do it again and address it. And that's an additional cost. So it gets expensive very fast. That would have also, in theory, would have addressed our issues at Williams Riding Way. Let's see, moving down the line, animal control 2500. So as a requirement of our local cooperation agreements with the Army Corps and with the NRCS, it's also a conditional thing with the Massachusetts Office of Dam Safety that we deal with wildlife that are burrowing into our earth and levee structures, and we haven't been doing it. We do know there are some animals that have burrowed into some of our structures, nothing serious yet, but groundhogs, foxes, and other rodents, rabbits and such that dig into them. We're supposed to be managing that, and we haven't been. So there's that. Emergency action plan. So every component of our flood control infrastructure is required to have an emergency action plan. And as I've said in other meetings, all of our emergency action plans are fairly old. I think the newest one is a couple years old, but some of them are much older than that. They've been kind of rehashed, so they have to be addressed. Training, that is for our membership to Mass FM and additional training classes that may come up throughout the year. William Riding Way flood control pump station generator services, $5,000. That pays for the generator maintenance contract, which usually is far less than that. But if something happens where we have to repair something or replace something, it could get expensive. So, what do you think, gentlemen? Where should we start?
Well, I think we've got a situation that's been existing for a while, and that's the agreement with Ty and Bond to do the engineering and the permitting for Little River Levee, those two culverts.
Yes.
And that's going to take a lot of time. We have one problem. That's because we applied for a grant 80-20, and we heard nothing about it. But if we spend money to fix these things before the grant is approved or denied, then that will be subtracted from whatever we would be granted, because they're only going to do what hasn't been accomplished, not what we already accomplished. But that, I think, is a major one, because it's going to take a while. Then we've got to go out for a contractor, the bidding process, and that's another year, that's another budget, because we're going to take this year's budget strictly for Ty and Bond if we are wise enough to finish that. Now, to finish it, we're going to need over $80,000 for sure. And that, I think, is a priority because these culverts are rusting. You're building up all kinds of tree particles throughout the river and in the canal. These got to be what they in the river part. We're going to need a concrete abutment, and that's going to be a little bit more than just in front of two pipes because we're getting a lot of erosion in there. We've got to slow that down because that can undercut everything. You also have to have a trash rack. Otherwise, we're going to keep bringing that lumber particles from the canal back into the pipe. And if we're not straightening out anything, all we do is change what lumber's in there or what tree parts are in there. So I say that is one priority. Whatever we need to do with tie and bond in this budget, we do it. We finish it within this budget, and we're ready for next budget to go out to a contractor now to do the work. Hopefully, those two culverts are not so badly in shape that we can't reline them. We might be forced to replace them. Now we really will go up into expenses.
Right.
That's my first move right there. The other parts I would look at, put a little bit in, like you talk about wind and other animals that are interfering with the status or the consistency of the 5 things we control. I would think very definitely give a big cut there, but we do give some, maybe $500. At least show they're moving on it. We're not ignoring it, but we've got to make the cut. One of our cuts are right in there. And far as the membership and getting the training, that was all, well, we only have 3 members, but it's for all 5 when we get the 2 replacements. I think one, the chairman, which it should be you, gets to pay for. We get that out of the budget, and you get all the information. And I know you've been very good at disseminating them to all the members. So I don't think all 5 of us have to block as long as one does. As far as tree repair, especially in the Little River Levee, because that's like a forest, we've got to do something. We can't cut it to 0. But that would be like after tie and bond is number 1 in my book. That would be the next one, to maybe take some of that money out, but have enough to start moving along like what you guys just did when you were down there last week, marking things off to move some trees that are to the left of the culverts if you're facing the river.
Right.
That is basically where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Unless you have a specific item that you want me to discuss.
No. Mark Goodis, what are your thoughts?
Oh, boy. My personal thoughts are to keep going the way we're going and put in for the free cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way forever, Mark.
I really can't cut anything.
Right.
I mean, we got to do something with the contract with tie and bond. We can't let this whole year go down the tooth. Then next year try to do that. Then the following year go out to the contract or even further back because these culverts are not going to be in shape.
Right.
And then we're going to have big expenses. We've got to handle that project. Even though it has nothing to do with the levee, it has to do with removal of stormwater from Potter Hollows Road that ends up in the ditch. Maybe there's some other source we can get money to help with that. I know there was stormwater management, but also I think they have flood control into that grant that comes out of our taxes every year. Maybe we should look into that. I don't know, what process you want to use.
Right. I believe you're referring to the water and sewer, the stormwater and flood control surcharge.
That's exactly what I'm referring to. And the second part, I think it was one of the counselors from an earlier session had got that through to make sure that flood control was included in that surcharge, which is automatically taken out from the taxpayer who has, stormwater going into whatever area. And we have got 0 from it so far, but I don't think we've asked for anything from it either. You don't ask from it again, these budget areas.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mark Goodness, go ahead and say. You were talking over Jeff.
One penny from that. We're supposed to get 50-50 on it.
No, I don't. It's not 50-50, but the idea was that money could be used for flood control issues.
Right. And as far as the rodents getting in the dams, that is a real bad problem. If you don't get them out of there, you could have some serious problems.
Right.
That's why I said you should have some money put there, at least to show good faith, and look at your priorities. Which of our 5 places has the biggest problem and focus most of it there and some to the second most disadvantaged area.
I mean, I'm looking at our budget. I mean, the engineering, the $100,000 for engineering, realistically, if we have to cover the whole cost, if we don't get that grant, which I'll speak to the grant briefly. I have not heard anything from the state, even though I sent now 2 emails to the state inquiring about the status of that grant. I've heard nothing. So if we have to go for the full amount, as you said, Jack, I believe it was 70-something thousand, but then there's additional costs because I don't believe tie and bond factored in the retaining wall. If I remember correctly, that's what Steve Stroka had said.
I don't think they even factored in when they went before the Flood Control Commission. I think that was something that, they would add on, because I don't think that was the original.
Right.
Also, you got a problem that on the concrete wall, they weren't even sure what permits were required. Remember, they wrote that in the proposal.
Right.
But you said that you thought for sure we're going to have to do something with some state, federal agency.
Yeah,
so
based on what Army Corps said, yeah, there's definitely at least 2 federal permits there that we'll have to deal with.
The Army Corps said it; they won't approve what we're doing without following their directions.
Correct. So, I mean, plus we've got to deal with the situation. We just voted to deal with the situation at Williams Right Away Pump Station. So, I think our $100,000 for engineering services pretty much it's already spent at this point. If we don't get the grant, at this point that $100,000 is already. We just write it off at this point.
Our federal state agencies, Greek lady's name, I can't remember her name offhand, that has just given out a tremendous amount of grants to different communities relative to culverts.
Yeah.
And maybe we should at least, we didn't get any notice on that. Flood Control Commission, some of the city department may have. I can't speak there. But we should make a contact with her and let her know where we are, what we're doing, and maybe even send that report you get to the city council, which really covers what's going on, and especially Little River Levee. I would say we got to make ourselves known. If you're not looking for grants and they're going all over the place around us, Salsa got a good-sized grant, which would cover a lot of tie and bonds.
Right.
Maybe not the whole thing. And so we got to go and talk to the lady. What's the name of the commission she's in charge of?
Well, she's tied into the EEA, which is the group that we applied for a grant for the culverts. For the it was dams, seawalls, and levees was the grant that we applied for, which was EEA. So it's the same agency. It's just a different section of it, I think.
Okay, we should make contact with her, though, let her know our problems, because if you say it's a different section, we should make all the sections cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah, I think she's higher up in the tree of that tree, but
I think she's very high up in the tree, because anything I've ever seen was coming to us. I read the newspaper. Her name was always the key. She's the secretary of the whole group.
Yeah, exactly. So
grants that she gave out herself.
Right. Well,
actually, I missed it.
Go ahead, Mark. What did you say, Mark? Goodness.
Sorry about that. I had my mouth full. I think those were personal grants that she gave out of her own pocket.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, almost $1 million. I thought if she gave it out of her own pocket.
Yeah.
Either that, I'm apply for her job.
Exactly. But so getting back to the budget, we can look for the money after, but we need to address what we consciously have, and then we can kind of figure out what we need to ask for and what we can just say, okay, well, we'll take a hit on that and we can let it go this time around. We could ask for all the money that was cut out of it, but
well, I think we should.
Some of it might be harder to justify than others.
Like what?
I don't know. It would be similar to what was posed to me before was, what are the priorities? Well, they're all kind of priorities at this point because we've let things go so long. We're still playing catch-up. The catch-up game has been going on really for the last, I'll say, 10 years.
More than that. If you're looking at the levy.
No, I mean the catching up of, not the letting go, but the catching up, because it was
the
going
last
on.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, it was going on before I got on the commission. There's some efforts that were going on. And it's, now it's getting to the point where we're finally getting all the stuff addressed, or at least starting to get things addressed. Well,
clarify for me. You're looking at our budget. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yep.
I got tons of paperwork to look through to get it. We want to go down each one of them and say where we think it's a priority and rank it, and then say, well, we can make a cut. So why don't you start at the top of what the actual
I will go through again.
Area is.
Yep. I'll go through what we have for numbers. If you guys have pad and paper handy, go ahead and write the numbers down. Mowing and grooming. 36. Mowing and grooming, 36,000.
Okay, that's going up.
Yep. I don't want to get into the details of it, but we know it's going up.
And significantly, because of cost of fuel and everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got to. There's no choice there. We really got to do it. Otherwise,
we have
the
to
whole
do it.
place will look like a jungle.
Yep.
So no cut there. No cut. It's sort of required.
Right. Correct. No cutting to that. I'll say that's the number one priority on our list, because it's the one thing that we have been doing and have to do. Because if we don't even do that, then the rest of the stuff doesn't mean anything.
Well, the bid has already gone out, so you're kind of late to cut there, because you know the bid, and we're going to be looking at that later.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's number one, so it's number one on the list. Number two, general clearing, $50,000. So that is in addition to what we normally would be mowing and grooming. And that's to cover things such as what we voted on last year that encumbered, to do what Lou Belzic and Son are doing at Little River Levee for the 9,000 square feet. That's where that money came from.
Yeah, how much was that again now?
50,000.
50.
Yep. And that's where
we can make a cut there, but I wouldn't go too far down.
Well, yeah, we.
So I looked out when I was looking at the budget. I hooked it up a Little River levee clearing and that, and put the two together, and then came out with a number, and we spent it as we needed it.
Yeah.
If you follow what I'm saying.
No, I do. But we also got to be cognizant that there's going to be a chunk of change that's got to come out of somewhere else to cover what the mowing and grooming contract is going to be. So.
And that was one of those too.
Yeah. So, I mean, in order to get 90,000 out of our budget, we really, looking at this realistically, you got 50,000 for clearing, 25,000 for Little River Levee.
But that's clearing primarily also.
Clearing and any additional costs that,
NOIs and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So that, if you were to take those two together, okay, that's
75, roughly.
65. 75. 75.
75. I didn't think my math was that bad.
No, it's because I wrote something down wrong. I wrote 15,000 for Little River Levee. It was one of my side notes. And then there's 75. Now we're looking. We've got emergency action plans are 15,000. Those really need to be updated, but.
They don't do any of the major repairs that we have, and we're going to have definitely emergencies if we don't do some of this maintenance and some of these.
Right. Well, here's
with engineering.
Even if we get rid of that, say we get rid of the EAP, we add that to that, so that puts us at 90.
How much for EAP?
That's 90. There's our 90 right there. Those three. That leaves us 2,500 for animals, 5,000 for the pump station generator, 400.
I would say you don't want to cut what you just mentioned and go to the ones you listed.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna Jack. Just hold on. So that gives us our 90 right there. That leaves us. Let's see. If we take the other items that we have left in our budget. Those last few items, not including the engineering costs, because that's already written off at this point. I just want to make sure the numbers on my paper reflect what I'm writing down. That leaves us $7,900 that we can cut out of those other items, which it's almost, that doesn't even cover the mowing and grooming. That it's going to add into that.
Well, let me go back again because I might have missed some point or got confused. You were taking the 50,000 for general clearing and the 25 for Little River Levy clearing at 75, and you're going to cut both of those?
The only way to get to 90,000 cut?
I don't agree to cut there, both of them.
No, I know.
We're going to make a good cut there, but I would be definitely. Then we're going back where we were. We don't cut any trees. We don't do any maintenance, especially on Little River Levy.
Right.
Any more than what we're doing now. And we've got to progress a little bit each year. Now I can see.
Here's the problem, Jack. We can't cut out a mowing and grooming. We have to add money to that. I see a huge shortfall because if we took just the clearing, the Little River Levy, the general clearing, Little River Levy, and EAP, there's our $90,000. That leaves us only $7,900 that we can cut. If we were to take the other three items that are left together, that's $7,900 total, which doesn't even make a dent in that 90. So realistically, there's just I don't know how we get to the 90. I know what you're saying, Jack. We also have to come up with almost, if the numbers are correct, we have $20,000 additional that we have to figure out for the mowing and grooming contract based on what we have for a bid. $20,000 that we don't have in the budget.
Right.
So I don't know where we get the extra money from.
I can very easily go with the
Hold on one second. Jack, hold on one second. Mark, you started to say something?
Yeah, please. How much was engineering for the site?
Engineering services was $100,000, and that's assuming we don't get if we don't get the grant.
Right.
That's about $80,000 right there, maybe more. But we just approved to spend money to tell Mark to have an engineering firm come and look at the backflow preventer valves, which could be $5,000, could be $10,000. We don't know. So that eliminates that $100,000 right there. That may give us a little wiggle room, but it really, you might as well just write off the $100,000, and that's kind of what we figured. We weren't expecting the Williams Riding Way issue, but there's our $100,000 roughly. So we can't really even look at the engineering to cut from that.
I wouldn't do that either. I keep it.
Yeah, we can't. So I see what we have, and I don't. The only way I see to get rid of the 90 from our budget is the quickest way to get there is the clearing, Little River Levy, and emergency action plans. That leaves us $7,900, which we also have to eliminate in order to get even a little bit added onto our mowing and grooming, because we know we've got to come up with $20,000, and we only have $7,900 to get there. So we have a hole in our budget.
We're bouncing around a little bit too much for my understanding, though. We were talking about the 50 for general clearing and the 25 for Little River Levy. I would concentrate on those two as what we need to get the program still moving and make a good cut there, but not
here's the problem, Jack. So if you take the total of what we have available, the clearing, Little River Levy, and EAP are $90,000 total. Okay?
Yeah, but you're cutting EAP and we haven't got it yet.
Hold on, Jack. Those three items are $90,000 in our budget. Okay? That we have. That I'm just going to say, if we were to cut those three, that leaves us $7,900 left out of the other items, not including the $100,000 for engineering and the $36,000 for the mowing and grooming. So, do you see where my dilemma is now?
I see, yeah, but I would say where we put a number that we think is reasonable and logical, knowing we got to make cuts on the general clearing and Little River Levy, and then go down, and maybe we have to come back to it. But to take a whole cut, the other ones we haven't discussed, I say go through the whole thing, make your common sense numbers, and then we have to go back again after we find out how much we're short, and then make a second cut in each one. But again, I will never vote for cutting to 100% cut for general clearing or the river levee clearing. I mean, if they want to give us 20,000 and take, that'd be 60,000.
We can't even,
60,000 out.
but the problem is, Jack, we can't even get there. We physically don't have enough to even do that. If we have $100,000 for engineering, can't touch that.
You cut that. You've got to cut part of that.
We can't.
No choice.
Yeah, there is a choice. We can't cut it.
Choice.
Mark, we can't cut it. Because if we cut any of that, we can't pay for the tie and bond work for Little River Levee, because that, if we don't get that grant, that's about $80,000.
Right.
Okay? So there's $80,000 we can't touch. And then we just voted to have Mark Crosati get a contract together so we can have an engineering firm look at the backflow preventers at Williams Riding Way. That could easily be another $10,000. No, sure. That leaves us.
You can cut 10.
We could cut 10, but we don't know what there might be overages there. We don't know. There might be overages at Williams Riding Way. There might be overages at Little River Levee, because, again, tie and bond didn't look at putting in the concrete retaining wall. I really don't. We got to have some extra money there to cover those expenses if it's more. If it's less,
well, we can leave the 100,000, and as the budget year goes through, if we find we're better off than we thought, then we can shift it around at that time, transfer it within that, because that's one area.
Right. We could take it out of that and put it into whatever we need.
Once we know where we actually are.
And that also doesn't. That also, we also have to be cognizant that there's going to be other expenses in the year that we have to address that come up, such as oddball maintenance or something unexpected. We have to have some money there to deal with that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well,
so
you're saying you don't want to cut from anything there. You're saying, well, you might as well leave the budget the way it is and just go for free cash if we don't get it. Oh, well, that's life.
No,
we got to plan better than that, Mark. We can't just say, oh, well. We've got to make the best attempt. And then we go for the free cash.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Gentlemen, hold on. Mark, just finish what you were saying.
Yeah, you're going to have to cut money from clearing. You're going to have to cut it from the Little River Levee, unfortunately, and the clearing, unfortunately. You're going to have to cut some from EAP. You're going to have to cut some from engineering and a little bit for added pests.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
Yeah. No, you're right, Mark. And that's the problem. I can't see, and I know what you're saying too, Jack, but we can't. There's physically not enough money.
Let's go through it step by step and give a reasonable amount, and then look and see how much we're short. Then we go back a second time and look at each item.
Sure. We'll do it that way.
I mean, to say cut, we haven't done anything with the other ones, to me is not logical. Okay. So let's go through it once with what we think is logical, and then see where we are financially. Then go back again and say, okay, we're short 20,000. We'll take a little bit more from this and a little bit more from that. But to say that 75,000 out for the clearing, and not even look at the other issues like animals, I would cut some money from there. But I know it's not going to happen a lot, but every little bit helps. So therefore, I will propose that instead of 50,000 for general clearing and 25 for Little River, we put the two together and come out something like 20 or 25,000. Got to have something. We got to start doing something. We're not getting a whole lot of trees down there to get some.
Okay. So,
especially in areas like I've walked down levee, there are trees that fall out and they've ripped up roots and all, and there's big holes in the levee further down, which I call the forest.
Holes have been there for years.
Okay,
but we don't want them there.
I hear you. Hold on. Let's. I'm going to call it back to order because it's getting a little bit long, but I know what you're saying, Jack. So let's say this: we cross out $25,000 for Little River Levee. We take the general clearing and make that $25,000.
I agree with that. Yeah, because general clearing still could go to Little River Levee.
Okay, so we've got that.
So you got 25,000. How's Mark feel?
That would be 50,000 that we have right there.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Okay. So everybody good with that?
I'm good with 25,000 for putting the two together, general clearing and Little River levy clearing. Understanding, unless I'm wrong, correct me, that general clearing could apply to Little River as well.
It definitely can.
General.
Yep, it definitely can.
Okay, so I'll go with the 25. So let's put 25 on the side and continue down, and then we'll find out what we got at the end.
Yep. Okay, Mark, you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay. So there's $50,000 that we've got already lined out. Okay. So I'm going to look at the next thing. The next big number is $15,000 for emergency action plans.
I'd say that that's going to have to pass for this year because we got to do something, and we definitely will have an emergency.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. We can't cut anything. We haven't done it in a couple of years.
Yep, well, but we got to cut it.
Well, we have an old one, so we'll have to, work with Steve because he does the emergency stuff too. So maybe we can work together on something. I don't know there.
Yeah,
I have to talk to him.
No, I mean Steve doesn't have any budget to work with for that, so I don't see that happening. So, unless we get some kind of FEMA grant that he finds, I don't see that happening. So, okay, so that gives us $65,000 eliminated from the budget. Okay, so now we have.
Wait a minute, you lost me, Al.
Yep.
So you're going to cut out EAP completely?
Yep.
We can't.
We have
It's
to.
been 2 years since we updated.
I agree, but we in order to get to $90,000, we have to cut the money, and that's the next biggest thing on there. Either that, or we don't do mowing and grooming.
Oh, well, you got to do more than that.
I'd go absolutely with cutting some, not much, but some from engineering.
Well, we can go back again and look, and that's where we can first look again. But let's finish this part off.
Yep. Let's look at this.
And I agree with Mark. You don't want to go to zero on anything. What was the amount of money we had for that?
15,000.
Okay, cut 10 there and give them 5.
Well, I was going to say cut 5 and give it 10. Because
I was going to even further cut, but
Okay, hold on.
We've got to show good faith. We've got something for 10. 5. I don't know what you can get done in 5 in emergency action, but that's how to get out of the city and all that kind of stuff. Signs.
Yeah, they should all be done together. They shouldn't be done piecemeal. But okay, we'll say $5,000 there. So $5,000 there. Okay, so that gives us, we're at $60,000. So we still have to come up with $30,000 to eliminate. So that leaves us $2,500 for animals, $5,000 for the pump station, for the generator, and $400 for training, which is $7,900.
Okay, we'll go back again. You gave me a number. We took $50,000 from item 2 and 3.
Yep.
We cut one that was a 10 or 15,000 emergency action.
It's $15,000. We cut it to 5.
That's 65,000 right there.
Hold on one second. I wrote something in wrong. That's my apologies. So
I think you went a little low. I think we had 65,000.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
No, because you said we leave 5, Jack.
We're gonna leave 5.
You said EAP, you leave 5.
Right, we leave 5, so that's $55,000.
So that leaves us.
We have $55,000 we've cut so far.
It leaves us 60 that we've got.
No, I'm sorry. Jack was right. We've cut 65,000. I've got too many numbers written on here. $50,000. We have $50,000. Okay. That.
Yep. Clearing. Yeah.
We've cut. Then we cut another. Between Little River Levy and the general clearing, we cut $50,000, right?
Yeah.
We just cut $10,000 out of EAP.
That leaves you. That makes you
It's 60,000, right? And that's $5,000 left in the EAP, right?
Right.
Okay. Just making sure we're all on the same page. That was my fault for adding the 50 or 5,000. But that's
60 then.
That's 60. We're at $60,000 cut.
Well, that's the next item.
Hold on.
Engineering.
No, that was before that, if I recall. I don't have it in front of me. But engineering, didn't that come before the
Hold on.
emergency action?
Hold on. We did engineering. I don't want to go back to it just yet. We cut.
I'm talking about the listing on the budget.
Right. Just hear me out, because I've got numbers written all over this piece of paper, and it's getting really confusing for even me. So I'm trying to keep track of what we have here, and I can't imagine anybody watching this is understanding what's going on. So, mowing and grooming was the first one on the list, right? We didn't touch that.
Right.
Okay, that's 36,000. We know it's going up. Then the next thing was general clearing. We cut that to 25,000. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Little River
And then
levy.
there were two things. General clearing, Little River, and general
Hold on,
clearing.
let me just, Jack, let me read this out piecemeal. Little River levy went to 0. Correct?
Correct.
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 Little River levy is at 0.
Correct.
Engineering services, we're not touching that. That's $100,000. Then animal control is $2,500.
Cut 5 out of it.
Say again, what was the last part?
Evening, Mark. Welcome to the
Good evening.
Animal control is $2,500.
I say $500 cut 2,000 out.
Okay, $500.
I was going to say cut 500 out of it.
We got to do something, because we do have to, as required, get some animal control. Excuse me, but we're making a move.
Hold on one second, gentlemen. One at a
Priority.
time. One at a time, gentlemen. Mark, goodness, go ahead.
500 is not even going to get you one whole dam done.
Probably not.
I know.
I
Well,
would
what are
say
you saying, Mark?
I'm saying you're going to need at least 2,000 in there to get, hopefully, get work done on 2. And that's not counting doing all your Westfield levy and everything else.
okay. Well, here's my dilemma, gentlemen. I say we cut the whole amount because I know we should do something, but $2,500, it's still not scratching the surface of the money we need to save.
No, why don't we take
Yeah,
it
but
out?
so many challenges that we're not doing anything, and they've been wanting us to do something. How does that go over?
I don't know, Jack. The problem is when I look at all these numbers, we can't even get to what we need to cut.
Yeah, I know. But I think you got to have something there, the 500, so that there's really a place where some rodent has cut into the levee that we... And that only kills the rodent, or removes the rodent, probably better. But it doesn't fix what damage they've done. That's something else.
No. Yep. My thing is we say 0 on this one, 0 it right out, and just write it off because it's barely making a dent in the amount of money we need to come up with.
Okay, let's put it at 0 and see where we are at the end, and maybe go back and look again.
Mark, goodness,
It shows progress, Al.
I know, but the problem is that if you look at our numbers, we can't get there. We can't
That's
get there.
why you've got engineering that you're going to have to cut, no matter.
So we're going to go back and look to Mark when we get done the whole
We'll look.
items.
We'll look. All right, so if we take animal control,
So where are we? You were saying cut it all, Mark's saying 2, and I'm saying 5. So where are we?
yeah. All right. Let's say 1,000. Make it 1,000.
I'll go with 1,000.
Is that good
Okay,
to you,
for
Mark?
now we're going to have to go back again.
1,000.
Okay.
All right.
$1,000.
Okay.
Okay. I just got to make my notes here.
So what have we got so far?
Hold on one second. Let me finish making my notes.
Okay, doke.
because I had to get a new piece of paper here because, like I said, I've got numbers all over the place.
I know what that.
And mow and groom. Okay, so $36,000 for mowing and grooming, which we know is actually not a good number. $25,000 for general clearing. $0 for Little River Levy. $100,000 for engineering. $1,000 for animal control. The next one up is the emergency action plan, which we went back and forth on a little bit. So we want to do $5,000 on the emergency action plan, or do we want to do 0?
No, I think that's a little. What's the amount down there now?
0.
And then what are we cutting?
I'm sorry, 5,000 is what it was. We're cutting 10,000 out of that.
Right.
I think we got to cut a little bit more out of that. Only, not that I don't think it's important. It's just we can't get our numbers going right.
Right. I say we have to make that 0. In order to get to 90,000, it's got to be 0.
What's Mark say?
Mark,
I'll go with it.
I don't say anything on that.
Okay.
I'll go with it. I think we should always put a little bit in every one, but again, we're so tied up the money, I'll go with it 0.
Mark Goodness, what were you saying?
You have to do something on that. There's no
Well, what number would you suggest is reasonable?
I'd only, even if you put 500 toward it.
Okay, I'll go with that. 500.
Okay. 500 it is. I'll go with that.
We may have to come back and we hit the end. Go ahead.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Next one is training. That's $400.
Okay, I would say cut 350, go 50, and I think I said it before, is that we don't need all 5 to belong. We need 1, that's you, the chairman, and you would disseminate what you've learned to us, as you have been doing with all the other things you've been disseminating information. So leave 50 for 1 member, the chairman.
Mark Goodness, you said 0?
No, I originally said 0, but I'd take it if there's only going to be one person. $50 isn't going to cover the training. I'd say put it at 100.
Well, I think you said membership was at a 50. What does it cost?
Membership is $50 a person, and then there's additional fees for conferences and whatnot.
There's why I say leave it at 100.
I don't know. What would a conference cost on the average?
I don't know. Each one is different. I know there's a big one coming up in the fall. I don't know what the fee is.
Okay, let's put it for 100 and we'll come back to it when we get to the end of our thing here.
Okay, $100.
That's for 1 member and a little bit of money for the other 50 for attending at least 1 conference picked by priority.
Yep. Okay. There we go. And Williams Riding Way flood control pump station generator services is $5,000.
Okay, but we only need that if there's an emergency. We make a cut there, but not down to 0. What is it on the average for the last couple of years?
Hold on, Mark Goodness, you were going to say something?
No, I was just groaning.
Gotcha.
So what is our average cost over the last couple of years looking at that particular issue?
That's the price for a contract, Jack. We have no choice.
No, it's not. It's not the price of the contract. Mark Cressati, can you clarify what the costs have been, if you know?
I believe I think we just went on. I think it was like $26,000 annually for 2 mowings.
No. For we're talking about the Williams Riding Way flood control pump stations emergency generator, the maintenance on it.
I think 2,500 rings a bell in my head.
Yeah, it does to me too.
It's probably going up a little bit, so 27 would be more appropriate, probably. Give yourself a little leeway. Excuse me.
Mark Goodness?
You got your fuel to put in there also. So you've got to figure that in also.
Was that a separate item, or is that...
No.
I thought that was...
Okay. No, Jack, it is a separate item, but as we were told this year, we couldn't take it out of what we had for supplies. It has to come out of general services.
Okay,
that's where
so
the money from.
what did Mark Crissati say was the average amount of money, and then add the fuel, and that would be the total I would pick.
That was where we got our 5,000.
You're saying that the money that Mark said was the average plus the fuel as to 5,000?
I believe that's correct. It was Mark Corsati. It was 2,500 for maintenance, and 2,500 was the fuel cost was at the end of the year. Correct?
I thought it was only 500 for fuel now.
500? I thought it was more
I
than
thought
that.
so.
Casey, do you
Yeah,
recall?
it's 500 also, but fuel's gone up this year now.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to eliminate that. If you're looking for savings and you got to cut costs, eliminate that. We'll find a way to support it and make it go. We operate a fuel station. I've got mule trucks. We'll keep it fueled. And then as far as the maintenance goes, I can work with Joe and see if we can't utilize stormwater funds, if that's what you use it for, is to pump stormwater. But we might be able to use stormwater funds to actually pay for the maintenance of it, which is an annual maintenance, and I believe it's only a couple $100 unless there's something catastrophic wrong with it.
Right.
And I think that's a good idea because it is related to stormwater.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
That would be
I mean,
$5,000 in savings there. I think
Right.
we could find a way to make it go and keep it maintained.
right. So, do you guys agree? Make it 0
Yes.
for now. Okay.
I'll go with 0 for now.
Okay. There's 0. So I'll go through the numbers. 36,000 for mowing and grooming. 25,000 for general clearing. 100,000 for engineering. $1,000 for animal control. 500 for the EAP. $100 for training. Bear with me.
Is there anything else on that list?
Nope. That's everything.
Going further down the budget, wasn't there another expense out of that category?
No. There was 2,500 for supplies, but that's a different area.
Yeah, I know. But, okay, so you're only making the cuts in this one area. Okay, we're going to go there next.
Purchase of services is where the cuts were made from. The mayor cut.
Okay, how much do we total then?
That's what I'm adding up right now, Jack.
Okay, okay.
Okay. That puts us at 162,600. And the magic number we need, hold on. Gotta do a little subtraction here. The magic number we need is 143,900. And that doesn't include the increased costs on mowing and grooming.
Mowing and grooming, you need 19,350.
What?
You need to add 19,350 to mowing in order to make it.
Right. Right, gotcha. Assuming that's what we do.
Okay, go back again now. How much again? Repeat it, because we got some numbers flowing there.
Which do you want me to repeat?
How much do we save?
How much do we save for what, Jack?
All the cuts we just made.
All the cuts we made, we come to a total of 162,600 is the total amount of money that we have in the budget, and we need to be at 143,900.
So your thoughts?
So that's $18,700, and that doesn't include the increase. So we basically need to double that amount.
We got to come out with about $4,000.
Well, Greg put it down the budget. I think there's one more thing, an expense that's out of that category.
It's out of that category. Correct.
Services.
Supplies.
What was that number?
It's out of it's
Supplies.
supplies.
What do we have for supplies?
$2,500, and that covers other stuff. Odds and ends supplies for the commission, but
Well, we got to make some cut there then. But that's realistic. You're the one that does most of the supplies, Al, so you'd be more cognizant of.
well, I didn't do anything with the supplies because if you recall, I decided not to do anything with it and just eat it. So.
Well, I don't think it's right for you to eat it, but what would be a number where we can make a cut and still be realistic?
Jack, I'm going to reiterate again. Rather than cut supplies, you're going and you're not touching engineering, your largest expense.
I know we're doing one thing at a time, Mark. We're looking at supplies. Then we'll go back to, I'll guarantee we'll go back to engineering cut.
We will go back to
Discuss
engineering.
it anyway.
We will go back to engineering.
I give up. I give up.
No, there's no point
Don't give up.
We're gonna go back to it, but the reality is we're about $40,000 over when you factor everything in. Right.
I know,
now,
but you can't cut your supplies. Your supplies are going to go darn close to that 25.
You don't think we could cut at least 5 and save at 20?
I think the $2,500 amount in the big picture doesn't mean anything because we're talking about $2,500 and we need to come up with about $40,000 of cut.
Let them cut it out completely.
I'm fine with that.
You can't.
We have to transfer that money.
We're making Alice make 2 reports every year to the Army Corps. That's paperwork, that's typing, that's cost. You got to go to the city council or something. You got NRCS is looking for correspondence. So you got to have some money to print upon. Got something there.
Well, why do we need so much in engineering then, Jack? Why do we need to clear even the levy out? You know, we don't.
Because if we had cleared the levy back from 1955 and kept it clear, we wouldn't be in the problem we have now. It would be peanuts to cut down.
Okay, hold on, gentlemen. Okay. Just so everyone understands, the engineering costs are not going to pay for any clearing on the levy. It's going to, the majority of that money is going to go toward the engineering studies that need to be done for the culverts that have to be fixed. We can't not fix those culverts. We cannot if we don't address it this year, it's going to go a whole year before we can do it again, and that puts the repair off another whole year. That's going to be another problem. We
may not be able to repair them. It's deteriorating.
We also have...
You can't repair anymore, you have to replace.
Right. We also have Kelly P's trying to secure funds to help us to get to shovel ready. So there's a lot of things that are kind of hinging on this. We also
understand that, but you've got to cut something. And the only place you've got left that has any money, even though neither one of you want to do it, is either engineering or clearing off the levy. It's one of the two.
I agree, Mark. I agree. Let me go back to what I was saying in the beginning. In order to get to where we need to be, okay, we need $90,000.
Al, I understand about the engineering. You're talking to an engineer. I know.
Right.
I know about that.
Right.
And I understand Jack wanting to cut because it hasn't been maintained. And I agree with him 100% on that.
Right.
But it's one of the two.
Right.
Well, we have got supplies what we're going to put down. That's up in the air.
Yeah, but that's $2,500, and we're talking about $40,000.
Well, let's get a number that we have, and we find out how much more we got to make up and go back again. Being cognizant that this mowing is going to cost more than the.
Let's go through that. So, say we take supplies to zero, and we transfer that money to purchase the services. Okay? Say we ask for a transfer of that money to go somewhere else and we make that zero. That puts $2,500 more into what we have. But it still doesn't make a big dent in what we need to come up with. So I will go back
and just take $2,000 and leave at least $500 in there.
I'll go with that.
Okay.
And I hate to say that, because I know we're going to end up transferring back into it.
Yeah, but at least we got something there, and we tried to show that we're cutting, and we're not cutting more like engineering where we got to get it done this year. Because we've got to go then to the stage 2, the actual construction. So we're years down the road before we even get this thing straightened out.
If we don't, here's the thing with the levy. We can't piecemeal what we need to do for the culvert repair. We know there's a fixed number. Right. We know there's right. I just want to make it clear. So we can't piecemeal it, and we know it's going to be somewhere probably more than what we originally intended because of that retaining wall wasn't factored in by tie and bond. Whatever other permits are involved, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to eat up the lion's share. And then, which Mark Corsati wasn't here for, we're going to need X amount of dollars to have professional engineering services come in and assess the backflow preventers at Williams Riding Way. So that could be $10,000. We don't know. That leaves us a slush of $10,000, give or take, that we can go either way. So if we say we cut the $10,000, that leaves us nothing there, but that puts $10,000 toward the 40, but we still don't get there with the numbers that we have. We're still off a considerable amount.
Yep.
Well, we haven't done supplies as far as I'm concerned what the actual number will be down there.
Even if we that's $2,000, Jack. We put that $2,000 toward that. We're still not making that much of a difference. We're still off by. I know.
I want to go through each one and then go back again. So we need to set a number there.
Okay, I have it written down.
It was total 2,500. So we're going to save 2,000 by only putting 500.
Correct.
For now.
Yep. I've got that.
But does Mark agree? Our Mark.
You lost me on what you were saying, Jack.
We're cutting 2,000 for supplies, but keeping 500 there.
We can't all talk at the same time.
Correct.
So you asked me a question.
Yep. I'm sorry. I'm hearing you guys talk. You guys can't hear each other talking over each other. I can, and so can everyone else. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. So
what are we putting down there? 500?
Yep.
Or 0?
500.
Okay.
So that brings us to 163. Yeah, 163,100. And we need to be about $40,000 below that. 20,000. Well, 18,000 and change plus 19,000. We'll say we'll call it $40,000. So we got to figure out where we're getting it from.
Okay, but we've gone through every item now. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, let's go back to the top and go down again.
Yep. Okay.
Be cognizant, we need 40.
Yep. We need 40.
And I would say forget grooming to be discussed in cutting because it's going to be higher, so we definitely can't there.
Well, that's right. That's where we're getting our extra money. So general clearing is 25,000. Little River levy is 0. Even if we cut 10 grand out of engineering and put it at 90, that kind of leaves us bare bones, but okay. And then we could hope we might recoup some money if we get the grant, but as I said, I haven't heard anything after 2 emails, and based on what Jack was saying, it looks like I'll be sending a 3rd email.
Well, the other thing, you said it's the same agency, and they've already gave out a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't want to...
They may have already discounted our request. And that's
Possibly. So but let's go back to this. So say we cut 10,000 out of engineering. That puts us at 90,000, right? So that knocks us down. We got to come up with 30 grand out of the numbers we have.
Right.
So then we go. Right. And looking at the items that are left on here, that's $1,000 for animal control, $500 for the EAP, and $100 for training, and $500 for supplies. that doesn't even come close to making a dent in that.
Right. There are only two places you could cut it, and I hate to say it, are either clearing or engineering, and I hate to take it from either.
Right. I
Okay, instead of 25,000 for clearing, go to 20, save 5 there.
okay. That still doesn't leave us.
I got to hear Mark though. What's he think?
Yeah, but where are we going to come up with the rest, Jack?
We're going to go down each item again. We're only up at the top.
Right, but there isn't much. Those other numbers don't amount to much, Jack.
I know.
Okay.
I know, but we got to
So-
make our cuts.
Yep. So okay, 20,000 for general clearing. Okay.
That leaves you 25 you're going to get.
We say 50,000 there if you put the two together. General clearing being the general clearing plus the Little River, that was 75, and we're going down to 20.
Yep.
We're at $25,000 that we've got to come up with.
Okay,
So-
let's go down the items.
So, engineering 90,000. Are we going to cut further from engineering?
We're at 90,000 instead of the 100.
Yep, we cut 10,000 out to get to 25.
But the engineering, that has to do with the Little River levee, fixing the culverts, all the bidding and all the process. That's what it costs us money. But we can't cut any more than that from there. That's a major project,
Right.
is to get those culverts fixed.
Jack, you're not going to be, with this money for just engineering, you're not going to do any repairs. This is just for the planning stages,
Right, that's what it's for.
not repairs.
Right, but what Jack's trying to say, Mark, is that he's talking about what we need to get ready for. He knows it's not for the repairs. It's to get the engineering done.
That's what we got to get ready for.
No. This is just so you can understand. That's you guys are on the same page. You and Jack are on the same page. It's just okay.
Yeah, I understand, Cal.
Okay.
Right.
So let me just make it clear. We have. Hold on. $2,200 after engineering. There's $2,200 left. $2,200. I'm sorry. $2,100.
To make up.
Hold on. Let me look.
No, all that's left in that
No.
pack.
$1, 2, $2,100. No. There's $2,100. If you total up all of the money that we have left in the other items, there's $2,100 total
Correct.
that we have. $2,100, and we've got to come up with $25,000. So if we made all the other items left zero, that's only $2,100, which goes back to general clearing, which is $20,000, and that still doesn't give us the 25. We're still short about $3,900.
We're looking at, we're not even being cognizant of the mowing. It's going to increase.
No, that is cognizant of the increase.
Okay. I wasn't sure there.
Right.
That leaves us where I've been saying all along, only one place that I hate to take it from.
Here's where we're at. We need to make everything zero, including general clearing, and cut.
I can't do that.
Oh, hold on. We have to make everything zero, except engineering, and make engineering. Engineering would have to be 8,500 bucks, and that would give us a little bit of extra. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Okay, go back again. You said cuts to zero. What exactly are you cutting to zero?
General clearing, zero. Little River levee, zero. Animal control, zero. Emergency action plans, zero. Training, zero.
Williams Riding Way.
Williams Riding Way, generator services, zero. And supplies, zero.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's because Casey said that they can handle that part, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I can see that as going to zero.
Yep.
Because we've got it covered. We're covering it through Casey.
Right.
Well, not to Casey personally, but his.
Right. And that's the only way we're going to get to anywhere near what we need to do.
Yeah, Cal, if I could just chime in.
Sure.
So you were budgeted a certain amount for mowing, and we know that there's going to be an escalation in that cost, or we anticipate that. But I think to Peter's point earlier, let's, go with what you got, and then you can go to the mayor and council for the additional supplemental funds needed, depending on what the bid documents come back at, because we haven't received those. It went out for bid, but we haven't received what that price is. So, at this point, my recommendation would be go with what you've got, and then if there's an offset, then you go asking for that. And same thing with the emergency action plan. If you need to have these things, they're required, you could kind of bundle that in, look, there's a requirement, we need to have it. You go and make that ask at that point for an allocation out of the free cash in the mayor's budget. And obviously council would need to sign off on it, but, if you get shot down at that point, look, you've done all you can do. But, I wouldn't try and budget right now for the increase because we don't know what that is. So I would just kind of leave that where it would be.
I thought we knew what the increase would be for mowing.
Yeah, we do have a number, Casey. We do have a number.
We do, okay.
We do have a number to work with.
But maybe that's
it's up.
Here's what we were given for a budget.
Yeah,
This is what it came back at. So now here's what we're asking is to,
Right.
things increase the cost, there's inflation or whatever it be. So, maybe that's how you go about the ask, and it needs to get done. So,
Right.
Well,
that's
try and cram it all in right here, but, understand there'll probably be an ask on the line.
Right.
Try and encompass a lot of these things that are required. So.
Right, and that's going to be the next step. But just to kind of figure out what we have to spend, realistically, we have to zero everything out, and then, except for engineering, we bring engineering to 85,000, and that's all we got left. I know what you're saying, Casey, and I agree with you 100%. It's just to get to the reality of where we're at with our budget, because we never actually were able to have this discussion, because we were hoping on having money put back. If we were to zero everything out, put engineering at 8, well, that's the reality. 85,000 for engineering. That would give us what we need for mowing and grooming. That would cover mowing and grooming and our engineering costs, and everything else would zero out, and that's all we'd be able to afford unless we get supplemental funding from whatever revenue streams.
84, 85 grand, right, for engineering.
Yep, and that's the reality of what we have for a budget, Jack. Mark, all.
Yeah.
I'm not very happy with that. I mean, the reason we got the problem is we never did the maintenance on cutting down the trees and brush on levees. It wasn't 10 years or so ago, FEMA came in and said to the city of Westfield, you've got to remove trees. Now, not the Little River, but the Westfield River levee. It cost $2 million.
Yeah, it was more than that, but something like that, yeah.
And so,
Mark Rosati, if you could speak to that a little bit. Mark?
It was a $2.1 million bond that was passed. The bulk of it went for the pump station rehab. I think it was about $1 million, maybe around that, that went to the levee. And it wasn't necessarily clearing trees. It was there were sections of the levee that were not at the proper height. Elevation needed to be, the grade of the elevation of the levee needed to be adjusted.
oh, okay, I didn't know that. I just saw the number, and it's an old newspaper article from like 10 years ago.
And there were tree removals in that, though, Mark, correct?
I'm trying to remember back. There were
Before my time, but that's my
there were
recollection.
encumbrances on the protected side from people having fences and so forth. I think there might have been, there were some trees that needed to be removed. Yep, but it wasn't like a whole scale overgrowth of the levee.
No, not like Little River for sure.
But the flood budget over time, through a course of years, remove that.
So to our budget. The reality is those are our numbers.
Yeah.
85,000, a little bit more or less, a little bit more than that, but 85,000 for engineering services, and I won't say the amount, but the X amount of dollars for mowing and grooming, which is more than 36,000.
That's all we're budgeting?
That's all we've got money to budget for.
And
Unless you wanna
everything
cut more-
else goes to zero.
Yep, unless you want to cut more from engineering services.
No. We've got to get a tie and bond finished in this budget so
I
we can
agree.
go out for a contractor.
I agree.
And they're going to be that much for sure if we don't get. The only saving grace is if we get that grant.
Right. We get supplemental funding from the mayor, that $150,000 that the mayor tried to put back. It's in addition to the 90 that he cut, so it would be a considerable amount of money back in our budget and give us more money to do what we need to do. That would be helpful. But that's the reality is we've got to zero everything out and cover the two things, which is mowing and grooming contract and the engineering services, and then we need to ask for what we need to ask.
Okay, I guess we're going to have to go with that because definitely the mowing we got to do, and the engineering, I go crazy if you're going to cut that so tie and bond isn't completing their work in this budget period. Not crazy literally, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'd be the same way.
But I really hurt that we're going to cut to zero the removal of trees from what I call the forest at Little River and other places that will need some maintenance.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, my only good comment then is we do those two and not the rest, but we notify the mayor right away, what we just did, and ask for supplemental funds right away. Yep. And let the council obviously know it too.
Don't you need tie and bond's effort to permit the clearing of the trees?
Yes.
Yes. Well, we need some engineering, yes.
Yep.
Well, so I mean, you can't do any clearing of the trees until you achieve the engineering effort that you're talking about.
Well, that would come out of that 20,000, the engineering, and then some to cut. Like right now, we cutting 7 trees down, and it costs about 14,000 when you count the cutting of the trees and the NOIs and engineering and all that. So that's why I was leaving, so we could go at least do something.
Right. So,
but again, hey, 7 trees is nothing, but at least it's a move.
Right. And as I said,
the biggest error in my mind, and it really upset me, was that we have not been maintaining by cutting down, especially the Little River levee. When I walk down there and I have to crawl over trees without the crest of the levee, you cannot walk down the levee without crawling over trees. You can't walk down the levee without seeing places where trees uprooted and you got holes in the levee. You got to get into the maintenance of those damn trees.
Right.
But again, our budget.
Go ahead, Mark.
Jack, you can't do anything about the past.
Well, you don't want to repeat it. You got to see where your mistakes are and don't do them. Now, they were spending money on it. Now, we don't spend money on it. All we do is repeating the errors that lead to the problem.
I agree with you 100% on that. But right now, we can't.
I'm agreeing with you there. I was just saying how disappointed I am that we aren't able to do what I think is one of the key things, maintenance.
So, going back to what I had said in a prior couple of meetings. So, in this notice of intent that we have for tie and bond to do work, it's going to cost more than what we had originally anticipated because tie and bond hadn't factored in the retaining wall. I know they had put in the trash rack. There may be additional permits that they didn't factor in. And we had talked about them factoring in additional tree cutting into that notice of intent. So that changes the scale of that amount of money. And again, everything is kind of sitting in dry dock because we're waiting for this grant to happen, if it's going to happen at all. So, right now, we can't do anything, and we'll have to deal with that when we get more information, I guess. But at least we have the money in place to deal with it, if we have to pay for the full amount. It's ugly, but
No argument.
it's ugly, but that's the reality. And then, I'll entertain a motion if somebody has a motion.
I'll make a motion that we are covering both the removal of the grass, and also the engineering.
Mowing and grooming.
Though I hate to make that motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mark Goodness. Motion made by Jack Leary. Any further discussion?
None. We need the roll
Hearing none,
call.
roll call. Jack Leary.
Regretfully, yes.
Mark Goodness.
Yes, unfortunately.
Al Jaguar. Yes. Budget accepted. I'll entertain a second motion if someone has one in reference to the mayor and city council.
I would make a motion that we notify the mayor of what we had to do, cuts, and what money we need to get that $150,000 back, and see a priority that we even make cognizant of that idea to the council people. Also move.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that gladly.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Mark Goodness.
Yes.
Jack Leary.
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries to put together a letter to the mayor and city council to address what we do not have in our funds and what we need.
Well, tell them very clearly in that letter that we're only covering two things out of a multiple number of things.
Yep.
And then we may not be covering that engineering sufficiently, even then.
Yep. I will do that.
With that concrete wall, we don't know.
Yep.
And you won't be covering what was mandated by the federal government.
Right.
Well, that's nothing new.
In our local
We
cooperation.
read the Army Corps of Engineer reports. We haven't been doing that for years and years and years. To what they think.
All right. So I'm going to stop there under old business. Mark Goodness. I'm sorry, Mark Rosati. We'll go back to item 4, Mark Rosati, report from city engineer. Mark Rosati, welcome to the meeting. I know you've kind of heard most of this. Anything from you, sir? That's not on the agenda.
I think, I'm not sure if, what you might be looking for. So you're on item 10, that's what I'm understanding?
That was our budget. Yep, discussing our
Okay.
budget. I'm just looking for anything in a general report from you, going back to the beginning of the agenda.
All I can tell you is that the NRCS effort is still on hold. The bids were opened as you identified. I'm not sure. So you have the bid numbers. I'm not sure why you're thinking it's going to be more than the bid numbers.
No, it's more than what we budgeted for.
It is more than what you budgeted for. Yep. Yep.
Significantly.
Yep.
That's about 10,000 more than what you budgeted, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit more than that. It's about 20.
Okay, I wasn't, okay.
Excuse me.
Hold on 1 second. Hi, sweetie pie. I see you hiding. Come here. Bear with me 1 second. My daughter's in here.
Sure.
Go in the other room. I know. I love you too, sweetie. I'm in a meeting, okay? If you want to watch, you can watch. Okay. So. All right. Moving on.
Mark Rosati done?
Yeah, Mark.
Yes, go right ahead. Yep.
Okay, so Mark, just one item that we discussed and voted on was addressing Jeff Camelli's concerns with the backflow preventer, the Tide. I forgot what the word was. The
Tide Flex.
Tide Flex backflow preventer valve. I wanted to use the correct term. So the commission had voted to, and I was going to send you a letter to pursue engineering services to investigate that. So we voted to have you pursue it further so we can get that looked at and have an idea.
Define pursue.
Pursue to have professional engineering services look at the backflow preventer and what the problem may be and what a solution may be.
Okay, now that's one part. That's not to do the actual repair if one is required. We have to get some other approvals. Okay.
That would be additional funds, but that was just to do the have an engineering firm look at it and decide what needs to be done, and that's the best way to put it,
Okay.
I guess.
Just that's as far as it goes. Okay, good.
Yep.
I want to be clear.
Mark, have you done any preliminary looking into that or no?
Just some thinking about it, but no, we haven't engaged anybody. We're kind of at a point right now waiting for, these new funds that are coming out have new federal requirements, new requirements for even for consultants. So we're currently going through a process of vetting consultants based on these new requirements, and I'm hoping that will get done within a week or so, and then we can move forward with actually engaging professional services.
Okay. Is that, if you could explain that a little bit more, just so we kind of all understand exactly.
I wish I could tell you exactly. I really don't know. This is a TAMI issue. It's a procurement thing. So, I mean, a lot of times there are state requirements for professional services. You have to have so many, man hours, or such a percentage of the work goes to a minority business enterprise or what have you. So the federal requirements have changed. They're I think, a little more involved than was previously. So we had to send that out to all firms. Open it up to any firms out there, and with the new requirements is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. Well, that pretty much that. Unless anyone has anything else for Mark.
We will pursue the backflow preventer.
Thank you. Anything else for Mark?
Mark, I got for you. Why haven't the trees been removed from the plaza area down on the levee when they're not supposed to be there? And we've asked you before to remove them.
So I've responded a couple of times in the past. I mean, so understand they're not on the levee per se. They're on a plaza area that is outside the structural zone of the levee.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I will tend to disagree with that because of the location of those trees we identified between the esplanade and the old original bridge. There are several trees that are within 10 feet of the crest. That's definitely within the zone of the levee.
Have you measured that, Al?
I've walked it.
Have you measured? I think that's beyond the 10 feet, Al.
Well, if it's beyond 10 feet, say it's 15 feet. It's definitely not more than 30 feet.
So 10 feet would be the crest of the structural zone of the levee.
Yep. And then you have the downward slope, and then you have 30 feet or 15 feet from the toe. These are well within that entire zone, and the roots don't care what the lines or measurements are. They're growing into the levee because it's an earthen structure, which is why we asked to have them removed and voted to have them removed a couple times. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. They're growing into the levee. Whether their trees' roots don't recognize physical barriers that people put on a map or measurements, they're going to grow wherever they want. They're growing within a relative distance to the levee, and they're going to grow within the levee. I can guarantee if I was to have Army Corps stop by and take a look at them, they would say, yeah, we recommend that they be removed. It's just not... I understand the reasoning for having trees there, but I also know that that's not a good place to have the trees, and the commission did vote to have them removed twice. So they should be removed. It's a safety issue.
Well, again, Al, I would tell you they're not within the structural zone of the levee.
I beg to differ, Mark. I know the commission begged to differ and voted that way twice. So I don't know where we lie with this, but they should be removed. whether it's a designation that you have on a map versus the reality of earthen levee structures, it's still within 15 feet of the toe. It's over the toe.
Can Army Corps be asked to come in and look at it, or do they have nothing to do with the Westfield River levee? They only do the Little River.
They might, if we inquire, they may come just to do it as a professional courtesy. I don't believe they have any direct oversight. I know they don't have any direct oversight of the levee, but I'm sure.
How about FEMA?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, if I out by asking, all we can say is no. If you don't ask, you automatically got to know.
Right.
So why don't we ask? I'll make a motion that we ask FEMA to evaluate that particular situation and come up with their understanding of what exists at this particular location. So moved.
Okay.
Jack, I would not want to get either of the government agencies involved in this because they may start coming and taking a closer look at everything, and we don't need that.
Well, the city may need it, but our budget doesn't, that's for sure.
That's
So
right.
you're not going to second it, so therefore it died because there's going to have a second.
You're not going to second it? Okay. Okay. Motion dies.
Requiescat en pace.
Okay.
Sorry, Jack.
So, Mark Crosati, looking at it a different way, can you provide something that shows that it's not within the levee zone, within the levee above, or within the levee zone itself, or within the toe?
I will try to do that now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving on. Okay. Next item up is item 11, contract bid award for mowing and grooming of the Westfield flood control properties. Bear with me here while I dig through my little stack of paperwork where I have it printed. Yeah, somewhere I have it here. Bear with me.
Hello, Kitty.
Okay. So we received one bid, number 21-031, mowing and grooming of earth and flood control structures from Ed Lubelzik and Son. There's a detail of all the sections. Section 1 is Powder Mill Brook Flood Control Dam. Section 2 is Arm Brook Flood Control Dam. Section 3 is section of Little River Levee, which is the Army Corps maintained section, or Army Corps required maintained section. Section 4 is Westfield River Levee. Section 5 is Westfield River Levee. Section 6 is Westfield River Levee. Section 7 is Westfield River Levee. Section 8 is the Westfield Floodway. Section 9 is the Westfield Floodway. That's Westfield River Floodway. And total contract is $55,350. And that was the only bid we received. I do know Mark had posed a question about looking into other bids that were, apparently bid paperwork was taken out by other companies, but none were submitted. Mark Crosati, if you'd like to speak to that.
I have not heard back from Tammy on that. She's away this week. So I'll have to wait to see what she has to say when she returns. And, excuse me, I believe the bid is based on 3 mowings, where the bid specifically asked for only 2 mowings, but yet they bid on 3.
Yep.
So you have to take that into account with the pricing.
Correct. That was going to be my question.
No, the bid said 2.
Right.
Are you sure that they priced it for 3 and not 2?
Yep. I'm looking at you.
I know what you're saying about the 3, no more, 2 now, but are you sure when they put the bid in, they've used the words 2 mowings? And then they listed those 8 or 9.
That's my understanding, Jack.
that they bid for 3.
Yes.
Yes.
But I think that needs clarification.
So if you took the amounts that they have per mowing cost is $17.50, and that's just for one. That's for the Powder Mill Brook, and you multiply that by 3, you get a total of $5,250 is what they have as a quote. So they wrote in that third mowing as an option, even though it said for 2. And that might have just been courtesy. I'm not sure. Because that would put us.
Here.
Yeah, well, I was just doing some quick math. If we would do only the 2 mowings, okay, that puts us at $36,900. So that's $900 over the current bid, over the current contract. And that adds some money back to our budget. If we only do 2 mowings a year and we don't do an option for the third.
Well, when I was looking at paperwork at that issue, I talked with Tammy Tefferall, and I believe engineering had also put a lot of information in there. And I believe everything was listed as 2 mowings
Yes, it was.
in the bid.
Yep,
It was.
Yep.
So therefore, the bid should be on 2 mowings, not 3. I mean, but you did the math and said that the 3 would come out to their numbers, not the 2.
Right. So if the numbers that they have submitted is for 3 mowings. So if we were to only look at it as 2, the 55,350 becomes 36,900 for 2 mowings.
So if we're going to approve it, then we should approve for the 2 and say, here's what we're approving, accept it or don't.
Now, I've got a question here,
Sure.
and we need an attorney, the city solicitor, to figure it out. If
Maybe
that, they have down for 3 and with a bid of X amount, we cannot, I don't think we can really accept this bid unless it states for only 2.
Well, I think first she's going to Tammy Teff, because she's the one that did most of the research along with engineering and us, mostly engineering.
Right.
So I would say before going to the city solicitor, you should talk to Tammy Teff, see what her advice is, because she's the one more or less that put the bid out. And I don't know if she's had communication other than his bids. You might have set aside a letter or something. I don't know. So I say Tammy Teff should be involved in this.
Will you be
Tammy is solicitor, yes.
Will you be having
That's what you
another
said,
meeting?
Mark.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Mark Corsati, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Will you be having another meeting this summer, like in August?
Yes, we'll actually be having another meeting next week because we have a flood zone thing that was brought to my attention by Jay Vinsky that we have to address. Floodplain matter.
So I would respectfully suggest that you put this off as far as voting on it until a future meeting and get some clarification from Tammy, and perhaps Tammy can figure out why other bidders didn't bid and perhaps rebid it to get more, because the work can't be done until, I believe, October anyway, so.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about, you've put out a bid and a number of individual companies applied, took the bids rather, the request, the form, and only one replied. So that's, they followed the rules. I think our question is whether they are in the bid price, we straighten out whether they're doing 2 or 3, and if it's 2, then they just clarified that.
Which makes sense.
Because I don't think you can go out with a whole new bid again.
That'd be a question for Tammy as well, but again, I think there's been enough issues with the current bidder that again, I wouldn't feel comfortable recommending them for bid if they weren't the only bid.
Well, I think you're right, and there's an issue whether it's 3 or 2, and if it's 2, it'd be much less in cost. I didn't see how they responded. It went to Tammy Teff. I didn't see a copy. Whether they did it and there's somehow in there they referred to 3 when it would certainly be 2. I would get them to clarify through Tammy Theft what is the real number. But I wouldn't open it up for a bidding again because the other companies had the bids and they didn't go to move in. And they knew it was also 2, most likely, because that's where it was written.
Correct,
I think it's fair.
You're going to need a legal decision on this, on whether or not to accept this bid, because they've got it down as 3 mowing. Not
Well, I
2.
think Tammy Tuff would be the one first to talk to.
I agree. I think Tammy, because it might be what he submitted, but it might not be the actual. It might not be that big of an issue.
Tammy Tuff's the one that drew up the bidding process. Tammy Theft knows the rules of bidding because that's her department, except for purchasing. The city solicitors, that's not an area she's necessarily an expert on. She'd have to do some looking into it. And, you know, she doesn't think we're a commission for crying out loud. She thinks we're an advisory group. Somebody thinks I'm an advisor is going to rule on something that makes me uncomfortable. I hate to be so blunt, but I am blunt.
Then we shouldn't be spending money if that's the case. So anyway,
So we won't vote on it tonight.
yeah, motion to table it made. Motion to table
And I'll
made.
second that motion to table it. With
Second by
the
Jeff
understanding that this will go to Tammy Tuff to look for her advice and have her do whatever she has to do to straighten this mess out.
Okay,
And her wisdom.
sounds good.
Just Tammy Tuff.
All right. Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion?
You don't have to vote on it. It's being tabled.
Well, we got to vote on tabling it.
We'll vote on table, I guess.
Yes. Vote on tabling. Yes. Motion made and seconded. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, call the question, which means vote.
Yep. Roll call. Mark Goodness.
I'm going by Robert's rules.
Okay, well, we have to vote to table it.
That's Robert's rules.
Robert says if you're one person can make the motion to table and it goes on the table. If you do not bring it
Has
up
to
the
be
next
seconded.
meeting, if you do not bring it up the next meeting, that article is null and void. There is no article there anymore.
So someone could make a motion to table everything on the agenda and therefore go nowhere. I don't think that makes logical sense in Robert's rules. I haven't got them in front of me, however. And I used to know them, but I haven't used them in a long time.
You want me to go get them out of my
No,
briefcase?
no, gentlemen.
No, we all are like,
Just procedurally.
you're going to vote no?
Procedurally, because we've always done this way. We'll continue to do it this way. We have a motion made. We have a seconded. Roll call vote. Mark Goodness.
Fine, I'll go by what you're saying, yes.
Okay. Jack Larry.
Yes.
Al Jagier, yes. Motion carries. Item tabled until our next meeting, which I'm hoping will be next Wednesday.
Make Tammy Tuff cognizant that we're going to be bringing it up at the next meeting.
Yep. I will fire off an email. Okay. Next item. Yeah. Where did my agenda go?
That.
That's okay. That's okay. Let's see. Oh yeah. Item 12. Update notice of intent, clear tree clearing and debris removal on portion of Little River Levee. So, last week, we had a field trip to Little River Levee, and the toe of the levee was marked out. I found the markers from our surveying that had been done 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. Found markers and found the toe and staked out the toe, cleared a path so we could actually get through there, which was fun and adventurous. And thank you to Casey for the assistance.
I thank you there, Casey, so I could play foreman.
Got the passage clear for the toe marked out. I have a guesstimate of where the 9,000 square feet lie, which I think we have our 15-foot toe, but but I've got to actually go down there and take some physical measurements before we say, yes, it's 100%. We've got 9,000 square feet, Meredith, here it is. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Let me know when you get on now.
Okay. Well, it'll be this weekend because that's when I've got time.
Okay.
So I got to go down and take some final measurements, tape it out, and see what those final measurements are. And if that's 9,000 square feet, so be it. If it's a little bit short of the 15 feet on the toe, well, it is what it is.
I'm going to bring up a rangefinder.
Actually, Casey, you guys have those measuring tapes on a wheel, correct?
Correct. Yes, we can supply that.
Yeah, if I could borrow one from you at some point. I know you're on you've got some time off here, but if I could meet up with you at some point, obviously I can't meet during the day. Maybe Mark Goodness or Jack Leary could meet you at some point and pick it up, and then we'll make measurements that way. It'd be a lot easier
I
than
can
sitting
pick
there.
it up.
Yeah.
If you give me a time and date, I can probably pick it up.
We can loan it at your convenience and just recover it at a later date if necessary.
Okay, that works. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Jack. Go down and make those final measurements so we actually know if we have 9,000 square feet or not. So we're in compliance with Concom. And then we can get, as Casey, you were saying earlier, if you want to go into the discussions you had with Joe Lubelzik the other day, this would be a good time for it.
Depending on Joe's schedule, like I said, I've got the erosion control measures that Meredith's looking for, so we can provide those, and then if the flood budget wants to pay for them, we can do an interdepartmental transfer to recover the cost if that's the way we want to go with it. But yeah, we have them in stock. We can always order more and replenish our supply if necessary. And Joe's agreed. He's fine with installing.
Okay. Do you know what those costs were? I don't have the email right in front of me. I meant to print it out, Casey.
It's roughly about $500 for about a 300-foot run of straw wattle with stakes.
Okay. And on those wattles, those are pre-filled, or they have to be filled before they're installed?
They're already filled.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right. Does anyone have any further questions on that?
No, but Casey, let me know when I can pick up that stuff. I don't want to do it right away because it's still a good month away, probably. Are you doing it this weekend? When you plan to?
I'm going to go do it make the measurements this weekend.
Okay, so Case, can I pick it up? Let's see, tomorrow's Thursday. Can I pick up Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, either one should work.
Okay, what's the best for you?
Let's try and maybe set something up for tomorrow, late tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Okay, I meet you at the same door that I did last time?
Yep.
Okay, about, let me look at my calendar quickly, make sure I have a doctor's appointment. I say about 9 o'clock, but let me look, because I've gone to a lot of doctors lately. One quick look at my calendar. No, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll be at the DPW.
Okay, sounds good.
Okie doke. And then I'll pick up to your house, Al, later on that night.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
And Al, are you looking for the tape on a hand reel, or are you looking for like a bicycle wheel kind of walk?
The bicycle walk, yeah, the bicycle walk, like you'd use for, say, a accident scene type.
Yeah. Okay.
It'd be a lot easier rather than trying to do it by tape measure. I mean, I've got a 100-foot tape measure, which is good, but when you're talking 9,000 square feet, it becomes very
Short.
Yes.
Okay. We'll make arrangements.
Okay, 9 o'clock. I'll see you, Casey, tomorrow.
Sounds good, Jack.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Next item on the budget. Oh, I'm sorry. If anyone has anything else for on item 12. Okay. Okay. Moving on to new business. Item 13, purchase of compost fill wattles via DPW for Little River Levee Worksite, which we just talked about. We have a general cost of $500. If somebody wants to make a motion to approve up to X amount of dollars.
500 would be the X. I'll make a motion to approve up to $500 if that's the X. So moved. For the one-off?
Jack, question
Yes.
before I do anything. That's for only 300 feet. You're going to need more than 300 feet.
How much more?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm making a motion based on
Yeah,
numbers.
that's a good point. You know what?
We go up to, give me a number, and I'll make that up to what?
I would say up to, well,
2,500. Play it safe.
I would say, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the waddles up to, but not to exceed 2,500. So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mark Goodness. Motion made by Jack Leary. Any further discussion? No, none. Mark Goodness.
Yes.
Jack Leary.
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. Okay, moving on. Continuation of the WFCC to meet via Zoom and or at City Hall for meetings. So, gentlemen, do we want to continue meeting via Zoom, or do we want to meet at City Hall, or do we want to do a combination of both based on what we're doing? I know it puts a lot of burden on Peter Coles, and this can get complicated. The upside to doing Zoom is it's easier for everyone to get here, and considering that COVID is kind of stepping its game up with this new Delta variant, and it looks like we might be going back into some level of lockdown. I hate to use that term, but some level of safety measures will be coming back into play. I'm already getting pieces of it at work. So I think that may be coming back around soon.
That's what I was going to bring up. It looks like it's coming back already. Yeah. So I would say Zoom.
Okay.
Why don't we say one more meeting of Zoom, and then we do it based on the up-to-date information relative to the variant and the other basic virus problems. So in other words, not make a long-term commitment, do it month by month. As long as we can do that, it's clearing the time.
Right.
Because you have to clear it.
Now, is that the monthly meeting, or are you counting the meeting that's next week?
No, the monthly meeting. I mean,
Okay.
well, that's kind of quick there. Let's talk about the meeting next week.
Well, hold that thought for a
Probably
second.
Zoom.
Hold that thought for a second. Peter, are you there? Peter, what are your thoughts on this? If you wouldn't mind speaking to it, because you're the one that has to facilitate these meetings. I know it's a burden for you. Right. Yep. Yep. Right. But I do, your opinion does matter to me, Peter, so. Okay. Mark Rosati, what's your opinion on this? Because it's also, I know you're at City Hall and you're in a lot of meetings, and I know it's kind of burdensome for you. Mark Rosati?
Sorry, Al.
Yeah, no problem.
Keep trying to cut off the background noise coming here.
Yep.
So, generally the Zoom, I think, is great in that it allows all of you commissioners to be joining in without the difficulty of actually having to get to City Hall. I think Peter's probably right on certain issues. It's better to have in person, but in general, I think the Zoom works very well, particularly for your commission. And I would encourage you to continue doing it as long as you can.
Right. From your perspective on your availability, is it easier for you to do it this way versus having to be at City Hall?
I think recently there was a couple of, I think at least two of your past meetings I've had conflicts with. yours were rescheduled. They weren't your typically scheduled meetings. And then, other meetings scheduled in, it's like, what are you going to do? You can only do what you can do.
Right.
But it was fortunate in that, regardless of what the other meetings were, because you were Zoom, I was able to jump in when I was able to jump in anyways. And if I had to jump out for the meeting, I did and came back. So Zoom is proved to be pretty flexible that way. I mean, that wouldn't be possible in a in-person meeting sort of thing.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mark. Casey, I know you also have a family situation, and you're also tied up quite a bit at work. So, what's your meetings that you have to attend? What's your take?
Yeah, I prefer to Zoom rather than commuting in. If we could accomplish the same thing remotely, and we don't have any technical hiccups, then I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you, Casey. All right, commissioners, based on all that information, I will add my own. I find, because of my chaotic schedule, I find these Zoom meetings a little bit easier than meeting at City Hall. It's a convenience thing, yes, it is. There are certain things that we could meet at City Hall that we could be accomplished more, especially when we're reviewing documents. Possibly, say next week, even when we're reviewing the floodplain proposal for development, it would be easier to be in person, so we could all look at it and vet it a little bit better, rather than discussing it and looking at it individually and trying to explain to each other what we're looking at, which gets a little bit messy. But from my own perspective, given my vocation and timelines like today, it gets a little tight sometimes if I have to stay over at work unexpectedly, which seems to be happening a lot more often due to the situations of the world these days. Meeting in Zoom is a lot easier for me, and also given the fact that I've got 2 small children. So that's my take on it. So with that, Jack, Mark, what are your final thoughts?
I'm not crazy about Zoom because I don't have the computer anymore, but I think if the other people are finding it more convenient and we need them, then I'll go along with it. I mean, that could become an obstacle.
Okay. And Mark Goodis?
So I'll say, okay, Zoom.
I agree with the Zoom, but like you were saying, if we need to get in and look at something, then why don't you make the decision to say, let's meet inside, and otherwise it'll be Zoom.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Do we want to vote
Do
on
we
this?
need a motion because that's an agenda item?
Yeah, I think we should just make a motion just for the record.
Okay, Mark, goodness, why don't you make the motion because you had the best idea probably.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, I'm a great guy. I help you all the time.
I make the motion that Al make the decision whether we should meet in person, if it's something that we need to vet out and be easier on everybody, or if it's not, then make the decision to do it all by Zoom, which is the easiest for everybody included here.
Okay, and do that for each meeting then, ahead of time.
Correct.
Okay, that's part of the motion. I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Nope.
Roll call vote. Jack Leary.
Yes.
Mark Goodness.
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. And as my first order, we will meet next week at City Hall for our meeting because it's for the floodplain. And we'll also hopefully discuss the contract for the mowing and grooming.
By next week?
Next week.
The contract for mowing?
If all the details come together for next week, yes.
Tammy Theft is on vacation or anything like that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Tammy Theft, that's who we got most
She's
of
on
the information
vacation.
coming from.
She's on vacation right now. She'll be back next week.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I don't want to rush her. I wanted to make a logical decision. So if she's ready, then we'll do that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it'll take that long. A couple of days. She'll have a few days.
I have no idea.
It would be we'll see. I mean, if I can't get it into the agenda because of other reasons, then it won't go on the agenda. It's that simple. But we will need to.
6?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I'll let you know when I create the agenda because I've got to look into my own schedule. So.
Okay. Or which date will that be? So.
I'm gonna shoot for next Wednesday if there's availability for a room.
Okay.
So, but I won't know those details until I converse with the clerk, with Donna and Karen. Donna usually does the scheduling for the meetings, so I'll talk with her, see what the availability of the room is, and go from there. So I can't.
We're gonna wear masks.
What's that?
We're gonna wear masks.
Yeah, we can wear masks. I think it's better as a safety precaution. I don't know if City Hall requires that right now, but if they don't, they're probably
I think we gotta set up our own protection.
Yeah,
Mask
I think that's the best bet. Yep. I'd be wearing one regardless, only because dealing with what I deal with, I wouldn't want to pass anything on. So, all right, moving on, because this meeting's going a little bit longer than we'd hoped here. Purchase signatories for the Westfield Flood Control Commission to have 1 or 2 with emergency signatory powers for the Westfield Flood Control Commission. So again, this is something we have to do every year, and we have to have it at a regular meeting for Tammy Teft for a signator or signatories to sign bills in an emergency fashion. So if we have
I'll make a motion that we have the chairman and the vice chairman have the powers as for signing for bills.
Okay. Individually or together?
No, individually. Because one might be on vacation, one might be sick. In other words, there's 2 that could possibly do it. My words, I think, was authorized, but only, okay, I'll add, and only one required signature.
Fair enough. Okay.
Motion.
Okay. Motion seconded by Mark Goodness, made by Jack Cleary. Any further discussion?
No.
Nope.
Okay. I will say one thing. The only reason we should be signing any bills outside the loop is if they're time sensitive. Otherwise, they should be heard properly before the commission.
Oh, that's understood.
Okay.
That's understood.
I just want to put it on the record. Okay.
Good.
Jack Cleary.
Yes.
Mark Goodness.
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. Moving on to communications. So I do have a few communications. One of them was Jay Vinsky had sent me a notice for a project to be developed or for development on the floodplain across from the East Main Street Big Y on the frontage of their parking lot area. It appears to be a fast food restaurant of some type, but I don't know any more details other than that. I believe I did forward everything out to you guys, but given the situation, I don't know if you can see the details. But I will print out the stuff for the meeting next week, so that way we can look at it, review, and get back before the Planning Commission has their next meeting, which I believe is the 2nd week of August or 3rd week. I forgot which. But it would give us our 20-day, more than our 20-day window to respond to that development.
Yeah, I never got an email that I know of, Jack. Jack, right. Sorry about that, Al. I never got an email that I know of regarding that.
Okay. I will look and double check. I'm pretty sure I forwarded it out, but maybe not. Let's see. Other communications. I had one other one. I don't recall what it was. I know I talked about Franny Bui at our last meeting. No, I did that at our last meeting too. That was Mass FM. That was the other one. So
How about the plaques for the 2 members that retired?
yes, I don't want to talk about that for reasons that were brought up before. But
Okay.
we're looking at a timeline in August.
Okay.
That's the possible timeline.
Good.
Okay. Any other communications that anyone has?
No.
Nope.
Okay, moving on. Item 17, observations. Does anyone have any observations they'd like to make?
Cattails are growing fine.
Jack, do you have any?
No, I think I already mentioned the rivers were very high not too long ago, but that I think I already said.
Yep. Yeah, the rivers have come down a little bit, so I'll tie in with that communication. So the rivers have all come down. They're slowly coming down, but we're looking at thunderstorms again, severe thunderstorms again tomorrow. We took a pretty good hit yesterday. A lot of tree damage, but we did take a lot of rain.
Home.
What's that?
How far did you make it home before the rain hit?
I got to North Elm, and that's when it really got thick and heavy. I pulled over at the CVS in the center of town and kind of waited it out. But
Good now.
yeah, it was pretty good. So yeah, we got quite a bit of rain yesterday. There was, I know, heading toward the Coles Bridge, there was quite a bit of ponding going on South Maple. And the forecast, long-term forecast is it's going to continue to be like this for a while. So I know the last. Hold on one second. I'll check one more thing that I wanted to communicate on or put out there.
I know the lake out here was doing great.
Let's see.
Hey, Mark, you want to come up and fish it sometime?
Moving on. Yeah, tomorrow, severe weather-wise, it looks like the worst of it's going to be south of us, but the National Weather Service might be underestimating again. But the bigger one is the hurricane stuff. So right now, the Atlantic is still very, very quiet. They're not expecting any activity over the next 48 hours. The system that was going to possibly develop off the coast of Georgia and Florida kind of fell apart, didn't organize itself. So it's oddly quiet for a season that they expected to be very active. I don't know how to take it, but any storms, the longer it's quiet during the summer and the water gets all that time to heat up, the worse the next hurricanes are going to be because they've got all that juicy warm water to feed off of. So say your prayers, cross your fingers, whatever your faith might be. If you have one, use it because we need every prayer we can get that we don't get a hurricane that comes up the coast. And the longer the Atlantic is quiet, the worse the storms are going to be. And if we get hit with a very large one, that could be devastating for us. We got very lucky, as you heard Steve and myself in our last meeting. All around us, west, north, south, and east of us got serious damage from flooding, and we really didn't get that much. Short of the flash flooding event, which was, at the very beginning of all this, we lucked out. We really did. And I know that's no console to all the people that lost vehicles and whatnot during the flash flooding event. I know a few people personally that their vehicles were destroyed in the flash flooding. So my condolences to them. And that's pretty much it for communications and observations. And after that is item 18, which is adjournment. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:20 p.m. So moved.
Okay.
Seconded.
Seconded by Mark Goodness. Motion made by Jack Leary. Roll call vote. Jack Leary.
Yes.
Mark Goodness.
Definitely.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned, everyone. Thank you very much.